For the fourth Sunday running, I invite all of us to sit down as we wind our way through a reading of yet another very long gospel lesson, this one from chapters 26 and 27 in the Gospel of Matthew. When Jesus had finished all these sayings about the Son of Man and the end of time, he reminded his disciples that the Passover was coming, when the Son of Man would be handed over to be crucified. At that very same time, chief priests and the elders of the people were gathering in the palace of the high priest, Caiaphas, conspiring with one another to arrest Jesus by stealth in the dark of night, and then to kill him. Now, while Jesus was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him with an alabaster flask filled with very expensive perfume. She poured it on his head as he sat at the table. At that very same time, as the woman anointed Jesus for the unfolding drama of his death and burial, one of the 12, Judas Iscariot, went to meet with the chief priests and said, "What will you give me to betray Jesus to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver, which according to the book of the prophet Zechariah, was exactly the amount given for the labor of the shepherd of Israel doomed to slaughter. When it was evening, Jesus took his place with the 12. And while they were eating, he said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." And they all began to say to him, one after another, "Is it I, Lord?" He answered, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me." Judas, who betrayed him, also said, "Is it I, Lord?" At the very same time as they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body." Then he took the cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood, the blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will never drink again of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." And then Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters because of me this night." And Peter said, "Though all of the others become deserters, I will never desert you. Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you." So said all the disciples. Then, following Peter's bravado, we hear talk of the walk to the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas' betrayal, Peter's denials, interspersed with Jesus' arrest and the sham trial before Caiaphas and the whole council. We pick up the text again. When morning came, all the chief priests and elders of the people conferred together against Jesus in order to bring about his death. They bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate, the governor. When Judas, his betrayer, saw that Jesus was condemned, he returned those 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders. He said, "I have sinned by betraying innocent blood." But they said, "What is that to us? Deal with this yourself." Throwing down the 30 pieces of silver in the temple, he departed. He went and hanged himself. When Jesus stood before the governor asks, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said simply, "You have said so." Now at the feast, the governor was accustomed to releasing to the crowd any one prisoner they wanted. And they had there a notorious rabble-rouser called Barabbas. When they gathered in the square, Pilate asked them, "Who do you want me to release for you? The much maligned Barabbas or this Jesus, whom you call the Christ?" But the chief priests and the elders had worked the crowd and had persuaded the people to call for the release of Barabbas. Pilate again asked the people, "Which of the two do you want me to release for you?" And they said, "Barabbas." And Pilate asked, "What then shall I do with Jesus, who is called the Christ?" And they shouted, "Let him be crucified." "Why?" Pilate asked. "What has he done to deserve that?" But they shouted all the more, "Let him be crucified." When Pilate saw that he was gaining nothing with this approach, he decided to wash his hands of Jesus and let him be crucified. Soldiers took Jesus to the governor's headquarters, stripped him naked, put a scarlet robe on him, and plating his head with a crown of thorns and placing a reed in his hand, which was to serve as a ruler's scepter, they mocked him. "Hail, Jesus, King of the Jews!" They spat on him. They took his reed and struck him over the head with it. Then they tore his robe off him, put his own clothes back on, and led him away to be crucified. And as they went out, they came upon Simon from Cyrene, whom they compelled to carry Jesus' cross. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, they offered him wine to drink, mingled with gall to dull the pain. But when he tasted it, he wouldn't drink it. When they had crucified him, they divided up his garments among them by casting lots. Then they put the charge against him on a sign above him: "This is Jesus, King of the Jews." Now from the 6th hour until darkness covered the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which actually means, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" But some of the bystanders hearing it said, "I think he's calling for Elijah." And one of them ran and took a sponge, filled it with vinegar, put it on a reed, and gave it to Jesus to drink. The other said, "Let's wait here and see if Elijah will come to save him." And again, Jesus cried out with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. He died. The curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, rocks trembled, tombs were opened, and the dead were raised and walked around the holy city of Jerusalem, appearing to many. When the centurion and those who were with him keeping watch over Jesus saw the ground tremble and felt the earth quake, they were filled with awe and said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." Let's pause for a moment and listen to the first 3 verses of the hymn, "My Song is Love Unknown." Just click the next recording.